And if you need to talk to anybody, come on up and let's have a party. Just talk to Kaylin over there, and she'll be glad to give us the information we want. Want to do one thing, all of the members here, be sure that Kaylin has your where you came from today. If you were staying here, because this is a committee day, and you'll get paid mileage based on where you were last night and how far it took you to get here. If you're in Alaska, we'll cover that. So no, I don't know. We'll check on that. But be sure that Kayla knows that today, because she'll turn in the list. She'll turn the list in today where you can get reimbursed for this committee day. If I could, I'd like to ask, Wes, going to ask you if you would you please open the meeting with prayer, and your number? 22.
Let's pray together. Father, we're grateful for another opportunity to meet together today for the good of our state. And we pray that you would bless our meeting today. Would you guide us, give us wisdom and encouragement today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. This being our last meeting, I don't think we'll have any more today. I think this will be, unless something emergency comes up that we have to try to get out. If that happens, I'll have to call you, and you'll have to meet in the morning about 5 o'clock to get it on the agenda. So, but I think this will be it. But I'd like to just say to our friends out there in the audience that have been with us for years and for all this year. First of all, I was really surprised by this great group. With the State Board of Education, stand up, all you members that I'm proud of y'all all here today. I want y'all to know they adjourned their meeting early to get over here to be with us, and I want you to know I was overwhelmed when I came in across the street. They threw their coats down and let me walk across their coats across the street. I appreciate that. I'll send the cleaning bill to the speaker. I appreciate that. All right. Yes, sir.
If I recall correctly, in biblical times, they did the same thing to someone just a few days before they crucified him.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's what was worrying me. That's what had me really nervous. Which it was tonight too, wasn't it? Tomorrow night. Yeah. But we do, and the rest of our groups, all the rest of you that came in, the Georgia School Board superintendents, principals, all, we sure appreciate what all y'all have done and how supportive you've been over the years. Do I have anybody, this is your first time you've ever been to an education meeting? Please stand up. Anybody, this is your first time? Everybody's old timers. I appreciate it. And I'm going to miss this one young man I hired. I taught him in the 5th grade, and I raised him. He's like my son, Dave McCluskey back there. I tell you, he's like my son. I hired him years ago, and best day's work I ever did right there was hiring Dave McCluskey. I tell you. But I'm going to miss you. But hey, you can take me to the Cracker Barrel, David. I like that up there in Duluth. And everybody else I appreciate, and all our crew over there, Betsy, and there's Jennifer and Caitlin, all y'all, thank you for everything. Today, I'm going to give everyone a chance to, let's give Caitlin, Jennifer, you, Caitlin, and Betsy, y'all stand up, and let's thank y'all for what y'all done. I appreciate it. If any of you businesses out there have an opening, Jennifer's going to be looking for work pretty soon, and she has been well trained, and she's done a great job. I see Clayton back there that worked with me in the past. I've been so fortunate to have some of the best interns that anybody could have, so it's been wonderful. I'm not going to sit here and ramble all day. I'm not going to do it, but the purpose of today's meeting, and I'm going to give everybody a chance to say anything they like later, but I wanted to talk about what's going to happen the rest of the year. I am still state representative until second Monday in January, and I'm excited about it. Yes, I am. And plan to keep working up until that last swearing in that they do in January. But in talking with several of you, you had some pieces of legislation, some concerns you had about various things, and that you wanted to really look at. And I promised you that we would take and study these and look at them. So today I'm taking the personal privilege of appointing 3, and one's going to be appointed by the speaker. But I'm going to appoint 4 subcommittees or study committees today. And these study committees, about them a little bit, what I want, let you ask any questions about them you would like. And then the chairs of these study committees will be responsible for you contacting if you want to serve on these committees or you want to work with them. And as Valencia asked me, she said, could I be on every committee? And I said, you can ask for every one of them, but I think we're going to have to spread them out. And I want to encourage the State Department and all our friends out there to please write these down and please attend them and help us out as we study these items. Caitlin will send out information. All the meetings will be held here at the Capitol, probably in this area where that everybody can come so we can get this done. But so I'm going to start off, first of all, with the first study committee we're going to have. And this study committee, we had a bill that you did, Representative Hilton. It was your bill on, and you tell us a little bit, we're going to let you call man on about it a little bit, but that was to look at the special needs scholarship, and we had several parents talk to us about some concerns they had about being able to get all the needs they needed and the things they needed. So you have anything you want to say about that committee? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was House Bill 801, and I appreciate you setting this up. I think it was the wise thing to do. This is a program that's been in place for a number of years now. Parents have enjoyed it. There's been some success, and so like we do with anything down here, we want to evaluate it after a period of time, collect data, and see where we can make improvements if needed, and if not, continue along as is. And so appreciate this opportunity to really study the program, see what's working, see what's not, and then just make changes the following year via some legislation if needed. So certainly want to hear from parents, advocates, those involved in the process to see how we can make it better for Georgians if needed.
One thing that I've had the opportunity of doing, and we held this bill up, you remember, we talked about it, held the bill up. I don't think it was ready to move, but we decided to, I've had several parent groups come talk with me, and we felt like that there was concerns they had, some legitimate concerns, and want to give parents, State Department, who works, I'm not sure who over at the State Department, Gary, I know you, and some others, be sure y'all are involved, and all the groups that are there will have someone from the budget office involved. I want to really look at it. So that's the first committee we're going to kick off. Randy Nix will chair it. Scott, you'll be the co-chair. You'll be the vice chair with him there. And so if you're interested in working with that committee, please contact Scott or Randy Nix. That one will kick off probably about a month after the session. So
Super.
I'm looking for that one to be done. Kick it off while school's still in session. When we get some good input, that's the very first one we'll do. So any questions from anybody on that? Any questions? Anybody have any questions? All right. That will start, as I said, pretty soon. Randy could not be here today. He had another meeting, but he knows of this. And I will have Randy, you and Scott, we'll get together tomorrow, the next day, and we'll talk about how this will go. All right. Anybody in the audience have a question about that? Any comments? Anybody want to say anything about that one? Now's your time. Forever hold your peace. All right. The second group we're going to do is one that Representative Teasley came to me with a concern he had. Virtual schools, especially the elementary virtuals. And he had a piece of legislation that we didn't think was quite ready yet. We wanted to look at, and I promised him that we would look at the virtual schools. I talked with Lou, talked with you, I talked with Bonnie, and Sam, I think you talked with them. I've talked with several parents about that, and since then I've had the opportunity to visit a couple of teachers and do some talking about the virtual schools. And what I plan to do with that one is have the management companies, to have the boards, to have the State Department all to look at, see what's going on with the elementaries and why. And a concern you had was the parent involvement, to see how we are involving parents. So, Sam, what's your number? And I'll give you a chance to say a couple of things.
Lucky number 14.
14? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right. The thrust of the measure was to make sure that parents' input was being documented as the virtual schools were coming up for renewal or non-renewal, that the parents were both having input at a time when they could give input. For instance, if input was being asked for during the middle of a work day, that's difficult for parents to be able to get off work and come give their input of how it's affecting their students' lives. So the genesis of the measure was to make sure that parents' input was being taken into consideration as decisions were being made about a school's future.
Reverend Teasley, you and I will be co-chairing that.
I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm looking forward to that one, and we'll hold it here. And we'll be.
There's never a dull moment with you, Mr.
You
Chairman.
better believe it. We'll have a ball, won't we? We'll enjoy it. We'll
certainly
get to
will.
the bottom of this. So I'm looking forward to working with you and getting that one done. And then what we got to realize, if there's anything that comes out of these meetings that we need to take forward next year, or it's legislation or whatever, hopefully we can develop it there, and whoever's there can be ready to carry that forward next year, we hope. So Any questions from any of the committee on that committee? Anybody have a question on that committee? Other than you, Valencia. Anybody interested in that? Okay. Doreen, do you have a question? You've been mighty quiet over there. Good, I'm proud. All right. All right. That committee will start functioning. Bonnie is going to, has she had her baby? Is Bonnie's baby been born yet? Haven't heard. It was due any day, so we want to let her be sure the baby is able to be weaned and wherever. So that will be taken. We don't have to bring the baby here, so we are going. I didn't mean to say that. That is not my statement. Please cut that from the records. That's right. Bonnie said when she's able to come back, we're going to be holding that. So that will probably be organized and start functioning in June. So, okay. So, Sam?
Did I mention there's never a dull moment with you?
Yes, sir. You did. Lord, let me go out with dignity, please. With dignity, please. All right. All right. The next committee that we're going to be functioning is the one, and this one has been a burr under my saddle, but my saddle, I've removed it, and I'm ready to ride the horse bareback, I think. So, and that's the one that West Cantrell had. That's the savings account. And you know what's so interesting on this one, ladies and gentlemen? We need to call it what it is. We're talking about a voucher bill. We're talking about, we don't need to say it's for this, that, the other, what it's for. We need to really look at it. So I'm asking that West Cantrell join me and that we have a committee to really look at that and look at this. And you want to make a comment, Wes, about what you're looking at and what we think we can do. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is a sensitive subject, and I am one of those kind of unusual people as a former public school educator whose son is preparing to be a public school educator, whose mother was on the Georgia State School Board, who believes in fully funding our education and giving our schools the flexibility to do their jobs, but also at the same time, I believe in giving families that same flexibility and the opportunity to use a portion of their tax dollars to pursue those options should their child not be performing well in the public school to which they're districted. So that's the hope and the goal of this legislation, is to, for those small percentage of students who aren't performing well, they're either over or underperforming in their, and it can be for a variety of circumstances, that their parents have an option that can help them to become to reach their potential as a young person and be educated to be successful in life. So that's the hope of the committee, to look at is there a sweet spot where we could all be on the same page and figure out a way to help that small percentage of students who are not having their needs met in their local public school.
Good. And from the State Department, all right, 25, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've spoken with Representative Cantrell briefly about this, and Representative Teasley, matter of fact, you know, we've had this conversation about up here you try to vote your conscience and then you vote your district. Being from a small town in rural South Georgia and more than 60 counties down there, just very low population, you know, small school systems, those children, regardless of the needs and different things, just don't have the ability to go right down the road to another school. And I'm not going to criticize. I'm just saying it may be helpful. This is a committee I'm interested in because I think it would be helpful for, as a colleague, to kind of hear our side, for me to be able to share some thoughts of my smaller rural school system or whatever you want to call it. And because my conscience says I like school choice. But then the reality of what we deal with where I'm from is much different than that. So that's a committee I'd be interested in, and that's just kind of a glimpse of where I'm at on it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I want to say, you know my stand. You know what it's been and what it's always been. Public schools first, and because 90% of children are there. But I believe in all other options we ought to have, but we don't need to penalize. And I think I appreciate you saying that because I think we've got to, members, as I leave you. I've been trying it for 55 years. We need to fund QBE. We need to find a way to fund QBE. We need to fund the poverty. We need to fund the technology that's there. We know some things we need to do. So hopefully out of all these committees, some things will come out that can help us help the next governor, lieutenant governor, education committee to elevate that funding and try to take care of that. So I appreciate that. So I see a lot of people want to be asked. What was your question, number 17? Oh, Doreen, I knew it. Okay, all right.
No. I'm intrigued by. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you too.
I like Cracker Barrel too, so I'm gonna have to come take you. So Representative Cantrell, I guess when the chairman first talked, the bill was called saving account, and then he said call it what is a voucher bill. But as you spoke about it, what I was hearing is you're really looking for education options for that small segment of children that need somewhere to go, and that probably is my sweet spot. So if it's truly the opportunity to see what our options are, I would absolutely love to be able to work on that. If we're not looking for it to be a voucher bill, but really an education option, because we got to find one.
Well, I just feel like, and Wes came to me and talked and wanted the opportunity to really just air this out. And I think that I don't want anyone caught blindsided next year. I don't want it just to, but I think we need to let people know what we're really talking about. We need to bring our stakeholders out there. You need to be on board with us. State Department, Board of Education, School Board, all these groups, Superintendent Association, hear from everybody, and let's see once in a while what we think we need to do. But you understand what I really think that we've got to look at. Let's somehow find that money and fund that education, all right? Number 13. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to echo what the chair said and maybe challenge us all to consider that maybe we've been given a false choice over the years that you're either for public schools or you're for private school choice or vouchers. I reject the false dichotomy. That's a false dichotomy.
I want that.
I believe, in fact, when I served on education appropriations, we were very close to fully funding QBE before the big budget downturn.
Right.
And I know I'm not alone in this, Mr. Chairman, in saying I strongly support fully funding QBE. I strongly support providing tremendous flexibility, approaching absolute flexibility to our school districts. But what I want people to hear in this discussion, from me, because I think I represent some others, is that there's a false choice that either you're for public school teachers, you're for public schools, or you're for those, you want to just sell the schools out and do the voucher thing. I think we can do both. And Mr. Chairman, I think when you think about where school choice exists, and we have school choice today, it's segregated based on income.
Right.
That if mama's got the resources to quit a $50,000 a year job and stay home and homeschool the kids, or mom can work and pay $15,000 per year per kid after taxes to fund private school, or they can afford a $600,000 house in a place where the schools are great, you have school choice. But as we've said before, sometimes it's the single moms who are working 2 jobs to keep the lights on. They don't have school choice.
Yes.
And I think that it's wrong to say that they shouldn't have an option. And I think it's wrong to say the middle-class family where dad's an engineer and he makes $75,000 a year and mom's staying home with the baby. It's not easy for them either. They can't afford private school themselves. So I just want us to, as a committee, say we reject this false dichotomy. It's one or the other. That we ought to fully fund our public schools, cherish them, give them everything they need, all the support they need, and also recognize there should be other options.
Let's say fully fund education.
Yes, sir.
Educate regardless of what it is,
Because it's the cost of private school is such that you just can't tell people just go make it happen for yourself. That it really only happens for the very well-to-do families, and very often if the school's not working for them, the only choice they have is, well, ma'am,
you're on the committee.
There's one classroom you can put your kid in.
You're on the committee when Alicia Morgan was here. She was a big advocate for choice and did the bill, to allow the publics to do the choice. But that's one reason, as I leave, I want to be sure that this conversation is done, that we take this conversation, have it, because I think that's critical as we go into this, then what's going to be happening in the future, that we come to some understanding of what we're really talking about. Because we seem to cloak it many times in secretive language when that's not what we're really talking about. Let's put it on the table and talk about it. You're right.
And we need to end the us versus them
false
dichotomy, because we can really we can really support all options.
All right, number, let's see, 19, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick comment. In the conversation, the discussions moving forward, I would hope that we would look to scholarships versus vouchers. I would hope that we would look at educational choice versus school choice, because it's not about what brick and mortar you go into, because you can really receive a quality education from a school in a school, depending on the programs that are internal to that school. And so I think that we need to make a shift, if you will, to scholarships and educational choice, and away from vouchers and away from school choice.
That's the whole purpose of all this discussion we'll be doing. All right, I have two more questions. We'll move on. 17 and then 22.
I told you, I think you found my sweet spot. One of the things I hope, and maybe this is the committee where if we're really going to explore options, I think we also have to come to the table open-minded. Because for me, a widow with young kids, well, they're not young, they're getting older. I think sometimes listening to some of the conversations, we really don't know who the people are and what their options are, but we've made some preconceived ideas. And I believe that there are opportunities and educational options that we haven't openly had conversations about. And sometimes it's not always about income, but sometimes it's just knowledge. So I am really excited about if the conversation is really going to be about education options. And I hope that whoever is on this committee, and I've just said to Valencia, this may need to be a committee of the whole, but it really, we come to the table open-minded instead of the preconceived ideas of who needs the options.
Well, I want to say that, Mr. Vice Chairman, us working together, Mr. Co-Chairman, that we plan to, I personally, we'll get together, but I'm hoping as many that want to can come. Now, everybody may not be on the committee, but everybody will be invited to participate, to communicate, and to bring knowledge to the table. That's critical. And this is going to be a really working committee. Do you have anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, just two things. Number one, if I could write the bill where it fully funded education and provided school educational choice at the same time, that's the way I would write the bill. Okay, so let's be clear on that. And then just to, we're not going to belabor the point, but I know the rural areas have specific needs, but sometimes you have to create the market and then let the free market do its thing. Until there is a choice, the market's not going to provide that option. And I know you want to call it a voucher bill, and I appreciate that, but it's not, a lot of this would not go towards tuition. It would be online, it would be private tutoring, it would be a lot of things that would benefit rural areas that don't have another school option besides the public school, brick and mortar option. So they would have those other options. And once that choice was available, I think the free market would take over and would make those things available for kids in areas that are maybe a little more remote.
Well, this is something that's not going away until we deal with it. And so that's why I think we need to bring it to the table and deal with it. All right, anyone else? Anyone from the audience want to feel like you're led to say something? And we invite you to be sure you participate. Lou Gary, I don't know, who else from the State Department here? Raise your hands. You will be called on. Be sure we know the right people to get you involved. Huh?
Lou Erst.
Lou Erst. What did I say? I'm sorry.
He said Lou Gary.
Lou Gary, Lou Erst, but you and Gary, and but I want to know all of you be involved, so we expect that. All right, now the fourth committee we're going to be looking at. There are two bills out there, depending on which one has already passed, and the other is pending. In House Bill 338, there was a mandate that we look at accreditation, that SACs look at more than just school board governance, that we look at academics. You remember last year we had a conversation with SACs here saying they could do more. Well, I think it was Randy and I met with SACs earlier, and we said, let us know what you can do more. We want to know what it is academically that we look at for accreditation. Those of you who have been in education for more than 40 years, you know that we did have at one time Georgia accreditation. We had other forms. Other states do have. So we're not that we want to change, but we just want to look at. The bill we have is House Bill study committee to look at accreditation. That one has passed. And then we have a joint study committee with the Senate, has not moved, and if it does move, then we'll use that one. If it does not, we are going on with that study committee, and that study committee will be chaired by, looks like now, Jan and I, we're looking at, there'll be others on the committee, we haven't looked, but Jan Jones will be on that committee, and there'll be many others involved in that. That is going to be looked at. So that will start probably, I'd say, April, May, and run on through the summer. We want to have all of these completed, all these study committees completed before Thanksgiving. That's our goal. So that's the goal, to have everything completed before Thanksgiving. So we'll know that. How many meetings you're going to have? I don't know. Each chairperson's going to get with me, and we're going to determine, and it will be, now remember, the only one that's legislatively mandated is the accreditation. The others are just appointed by the chair of the House Education Committee, but they will still have the force of legislation that we'll put forward. All right, any questions for the committee on that committee? Any questions? Okay. I want to be sure that these committees are bipartisan. You know me, I think that's very important. I see your smiles over there, and I like them. We do need to, I agree with what y'all said. I want this not to be Democrat, Republican, independent, whatever. I want it to be about children, what's best for children. And remember, I'll be watching you all next year, and I'm going to be sitting out there too, probably with David McCluskey. I'm going to ride down with him, down with David McCluskey, where I don't have to worry about finding a place to park. So I'll be riding with David. So, any questions now from anybody about the four committees, the four study committees? All right. Again, I want to tell you, please contact your chair, the people I mentioned, if you want to be a part of those committees. I hope everyone will be a part and be involved as much as you can in these study committees, and because I think we get some good work that can go on here. Now, is anybody on the committee have anything they want to say now? This is, unless I can say it, we have an emergency. This is it, 19, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly I think that I can speak for most of the folks up here on this committee, that I have certainly enjoyed serving with you and under your leadership on this committee. I think that I've been doing this for a while myself, and I think that I've served in probably 9 committees up here. And I will tell you that you're one of the fairest, most thorough committee chairmen that I have served under. And so I don't want it to go without saying that I certainly use you as an example as far as the commitment and the dedication to a subject matter as you have been with education. You've been with others, but I've certainly learned a lot from you in regards to education, and as well as education K-12 funding, because I do not have a background in education, but I have a passion and a desire for education. And part of that passion and desire is because of the example that you have set and your leadership. So I wish we could take this like Coleman Middle School and name this place after you, Mr. Chairman. And but in my mind, you are Mr. Education, and thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, number 15.
Well, I just want to echo what my friend and colleague said. It's you've been my friend before I was in the legislature, and you'll be my friend after we both leave. But it's been an honor to serve with you and on this committee with you. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyone else have anything? I don't want this to be just Brooks Coleman, but now we're losing Joyce. Joyce, we're gonna, as we said earlier, we're gonna miss you too. Brought so much here, and we're gonna miss you so much, Joyce. You fought for the counselors, bud, and they owe you a big day. You know how to work with children's hearts and their feelings, and you've been so wonderful, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. We're gonna miss you tremendously. David, you've been, hey, let's give it yours. And David, we're gonna really miss you, my friend, my vice chair, and what you bring, and you keep me straight. That man knows every dots every I and crosses every T. He kept me straight. We're going to miss you tremendously, too. You care about children. And David is, you know, he's homeschooled his children. Has probably two of the, are they here today? Is Jonathan here? I don't know if they're here. Two of the smartest young children you've ever met, and shows what homeschooling can do when loving parents do care and do want what's best for their children. But he has still fought for public education, and I appreciate you so much, too. So thank you. Let's appreciate you. And Buzz, my friend, you're coming back, buddy. That's all I'm going to say. You're coming back. And I'm going to miss you, and I'm so glad you're on this committee. You've helped me out tremendously. You've helped the whole things of politics of the state. You've been good. You care about the Georgia people, and we're going to miss you, buddy. But we're going to see you again, and we appreciate you so much. Buzz Brockway. And I've got to say this, I've already said it, but I tell you, there's someone I've grown to love and I've grown to appreciate, and that has been my right-hand person, for years, and someone that really takes care of us and loves this state and sees that we stay straight and sees that it takes care of me. And isn't it true, Betsy, that I think you're wonderful? Stand up, and I appreciate you so much. And anyone else have anything they want to say? And you still owe me lunch at Mary Lynn. All right. What's your number? All right. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure I know a whole lot more about education than I did when I first came on this committee.
Wait a minute.
Years ago. But that's because it's like drinking from a fire hose. Yeah. It's just overwhelming. But what I've learned is how to run a committee, because if you've never dealt with a room full of MAD, Page, and GAE, and teachers, and I mean just vicious, and let me tell you, and you, well, I'm just being honest. I mean, he's leaving. I'm just going to spread some truth. And you know how to kind of control a room and run a committee and turn that microphone on and off. That makes a big difference. But I appreciate your leadership.
Thank you so much, I tell you. The lions have been turned loose. All right, 14, yes, sir. All right, 14.
I've got to ask, is Representative LaRicchia looking to replace the mantle of never a dull moment with?
Well, it's been wonderful. Anybody in the audience have anything you want to say before we go? Because we're going to end this thing. Anybody have anything you want to say? All right, I see my state board member. Y'all know Mike Roy. All right.
I've got to do it, Mr. Chairman, because we were, as you mentioned, we just wrapped up our State Board of Education meetings today, but it has been my honor to work with you and serve with you because of the deep relationships. And I don't know what it is about the seventh. Did I do something? Because I represent Joyce Chandler, my representative, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Casas, our vice chair, and Mr. Brockway. Yeah. What
have you done?
What have I done? No, I know what we have done because of the relationships we've had and the work that has been done and the relationships that have been built. There have been a lot of great things done for children. And it would not be without your leadership and the leadership of these members that would not have happened. It would not be the case. And I just wanted, on behalf of the board, say thank you. And on behalf of my children that have gone through in Gwinnett County Schools, say thank you. And myself and my wife, both being Gwinnett County School residents and Gwinnett County Public School graduates, thank you. You're a great man, and I appreciate you, and I'm glad to call you a friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Now, before I turn the mic off, you know she's been with me a long time also. She just recently got married. She's into raising chickens. She gets up at 3 o'clock, feeds about 50,000 chickens, drives about 70 miles to work, goes home and does the same thing. But this lady has been right here by my side, been taking care of me. And I'm going to miss her. I feel like she's my daughter. I feel like I've raised her. But Courtney, thank you so much. We're going to miss you. Let's hear it for Courtney. And y'all are going to get Jennifer a job. Be sure I want her a good job. And Kaylin right there, if anybody messes with her, I was scared to death this year when Sheena left me, but the good Lord blessed me, and He brought me a wonderful lady. So we're going to take care of her. And Kaylin, thank you so much, because she came to my rescue, and I have had the best staff I've ever had right there help me. So thank you. Anybody else want to come say something good about anybody? We'll stand around, let's hug, and let's have a good time. Thank y'all for coming. Meeting adjourned.